So, about 5 minutes ago, I finished a book called A Fid's for All the Devils by C.S. Fritz, and I want to talk about it. So, if I had to say what this book was about in one word, it would be grief. This book ultimately follows a character named Sonny as he is grieving from his father's death. His father unalived himself, and he is trying to deal with the grief of that. He also has a friend slash love interest who is dealing with the fact that her mom's dying slowly from dementia, and you get to see how C's dealing with the grief of her mom slowly dying, and how her father is dealing with the grief from his wife dying, and you also get to see how Sunny's mom is dealing with the grief of her husband dying. Now, the first thing I'll say about this book is I almost DNF'd it. The first 50 something pages of it are like 1 star for me. Absolutely terrible. I almost did not finish it, but I'm really, really glad I did. However, I truly, truly think that you could start this book about 50 something pages into it, which the book's only like 100 something, 200 pages or so, and so that's a pretty good chunk to the way. But I think you could honestly start it about 50 something pages into it and not miss anything important. There's a lot of scenes that are added, especially near the beginning of the book. They were just like really sadistic, gruesome, gory, kind of just unnecessary. And I think the book would be perfectly fine without those scenes. I think it'd be perfectly fine. You'd be able to understand the book perfectly without the first half of the book. So I wanted to throw that out there. The second half of the book, though, I thought was excellent. It's just the first half of the book I did not like. So first of all, trigger warning. There's almost every type of trigger warning that can be had in this book, and so please set the trigger warnings before you read it. I cannot list all the trigger warnings from this book because I'd probably forget some. There's a lot. Again, the author did unnecessarily, in my opinion, leave a lot of like gruesome scenes in it that could easily just not been there. Like, it's supposed to be kind of a horror book, but like I just thought it was unnecessary. If you like books with an unreliable narrator, such as in We Are the Ants, or I'm thinking about Ending Things by Ian Reid, this is a perfect book. You don't really know if the main character is reliable or not in terms of their narration. You don't know what is mental illness and what is not. You don't know what's real and what's not, what's a manifestation of a mental illness and what's not. And so if you like that sort of thing, then this book is perfect for you. If you like books about mental illness and you like books about grief, I think this book would also be a nice book to check out. One thing I didn't like about the book, and it could have just been the version of the ebook that I got, but in my version of the book that I got, there was just random letters in the middle of words and sentences that were in bold, and it made it really hard for me to read. The author would also sometimes make the text really tiny, and then in other pages of the book make the text really big. And I get what it was going for. It's probably trying to make it seem like Death was like, writing it, because Death is a main character in the book, the Grim Reaper, Death, whatever you want to call it. But for me, I felt like I was at the eye doctor taking an eye exam. I did not like it. I do like that the book had some deep messages to it about death and about like how to live your life. I do wish that it kind of got a bit more into that though, because I felt like it just kind of said the tip of the iceberg and then kind of left it there. It didn't really delve any deeper and examine things, and so I do wish it was a bit more philosophical, but I guess it's not a philosophy book, so what are they gonna do? I also didn't like how the author doesn't seem to know the difference between major depressive disorder and schizoaffective disorder, which are two completely different disorders. And if you want to go the route of believing that the main character has a disorder, it would be schizoaffective disorder, not just major depressive disorder. But again, it's an unreliable narrator trope, and so you don't know. It's up to your interpretation of whether or not what's going on is mental illness or whether or not it's real. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. This is definitely a dark book. I can understand if it's not everybody's cup of tea, but let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you're reading, what books you've read recently, what books you like, what books you want me to read next. Give this video a like and make sure to follow, and have a great day.